Hi everybody, Dominic Esposito, your drill instructor, and thanks for joining me tonight here in the Drill Instructor's Pool Studio. I've had several requests now to please give you techniques and drills for jumping. I'm going to respond to those tonight. I'm going to be using my brand new Elevate jump cue. It does function as a full-length jump cue. The back 18-inch handle comes off, and you have 40 inches at 5 ounces. You can interchange the 10-inch handle and put the 18-inch handle on it, and with the 30-inch shaft it's now 48 inches, and this weighs 8.5 ounces. And you can either put the short 10-inch piece on the back, or you can interchange it and keep it to the front, and that full length is going to come in at 11 ounces. So tonight I'm going to be using this. It is all carbon fiber handles, all carbon fiber shaft, to my very specifications. Possibly seen some of the commercials we ran recently, jumping from a toothpick. Not like you might necessarily do that in competition, but it has the ability to do that. It's not just the player. The cue has to have the ability to perform that way regardless of whose hand it's in. You can also go to the Prime Custom Cue website. I put a bunch of videos up there. So with that said, let's get into some very specific techniques. I'm going to use this 11 ball to give you some important information about understanding the application of English. If you practice with a stripe ball and you make the stripe perfectly horizontal, the space right up here, the color space right up there, is exactly where you're going to apply the tip to strike the ball. And this is regardless of the elevation of the cue. That's exactly the same place that I aim at all the time. Now, if I'm going to apply follow, I'm going to raise it up and cut it right where the white and the red cuts right there. That is going to give me the full length of the table in follow. And if I bring it all the way down to the bottom where the cut of the white and the red paint meet, that is going to give me draw. And I can, with the new Elevate, I can pull the cue back a full 3 and 3+ diamonds of draw, and of course I can get the full table length with follow. If you turn the ball vertical and you're going to be aiming exactly at that same point on the color stripe, that is going to give you the application for 2 full tips of English. When you are using your massé, the Elevate does an incredible job at stop, follow, draw, up to 4 full diamonds of massé for the length of the table, and it can jump from as close as, let's just keep it simple, let's call it 1/8 of an inch, and up to 100 inches. You could, of course, if you have more power than the drill instructor, you could possibly go more than that 100 inches. I don't think you're going to get much closer than that toothpick. When you're holding your jump cue, you generally want to hold it right at the joint or just within about 6 inches forward to that. Don't ever hold behind that. That's going to throw the balance of the cue off regardless of which jump cue you may or may not be using. You want to basically hold your shaft about this tight. Let it rock in your fingers. And when you feel how tight that is, don't never press or hold tighter, because the cue has to hit the ball and get out of the way so the ball can launch. And if you're pressing or pinching, I like to call it pinching, you're going to compress the cue ball, jam it, lock it, trap it, whichever term you'd like to use. I like to say trapping it, and you'll trap it so that the cue can't get out of the way and the ball can't jump. If you try to go slow and then pause and then accelerate in order to do that, if you kept that light pinch, your hand's going to slip right off. So your natural reflex is going to be to pinch it, which is going to generally cause it to hydroplane off your hand just enough so you're going to hear that loud screeching noise, which is your miscue. And that's how you can always tell you pinched it, because you're going to get that horrible miscuing sound. Now, depending on what you're trying to accomplish with the jump cue, you can or do not necessarily have to have chalk on the tip. I would say that when you remove the chalk, the cue ball is going to roll more freely. And when you apply the chalk, it's going to grip more and hold it back after it's hit the cloth. A few drills I want you to start with. You can just put a set of balls up front. You can use all striped balls in the back if you don't have a bunch of cue balls like me. Here's a really cool, simple drill you could start with. I call this stripes over easy, and that would be with your stripes. You would be making those. There is only a 2-ball gap right now between these that are preset, and what you're going to do is learning how to aim. There's a few different techniques. One technique is you can come down and make sure you're nice and straight and then come up this way. Another way is you can line up and you can raise your hand, and if you close your non-dominant eye, when you look down at the shaft, the cue ball actually disappears because the shaft is so close to me that lets me know everything's in line, and then you can bring it straight back down. It's essential that you have a really good eye pattern. Most players think that you're supposed to look at the cue ball at the time you jump. When do you do that on all of your other pull shots? Don't you always look at the contact point in the object ball you're aiming at? Well, why don't we do the same thing here? Because if you're not looking, you can't really be aiming. And to use some kind of arbitrary spot on the table of something that's what you're going to stroke across, I'd recommend that you just kind of leave that for the bowling alleys. Here, I want to talk to you about how to aim, okay? So I want to settle into my position, look up, I can double check my aim, then I can begin my pre-stroking. I look at the cue ball and I'm pre-stroking. Then I look up at the pocket, I look down, everything still looks perfect, I look back up to the pocket, and I let the shot go. And I'm going to do that for the rest of all of these as you go through working on this. Fundamentally, this will represent about 60% of all the jump shots you're ever going to hit. Whoever either tries to save you or you get a bad roll, you're usually going to be at least a couple of balls behind. And I'm going to tell you that about 90% of all the jump cues on the market can probably make this jump, although the heavier the cue, the harder the cue ball is going to come thundering down, and you may not get that much control. One last time on one more shot here. I set up, I feel balanced, I'm in good position. I'm going to bring it up, check my aim, bring it down, pre-stroke, eyes up, eyes back down, eyes up, and take the shot. Next, I'm going to go through and I'm going to bring the balls back another half a diamond, and here's a nice little shot I like to call stripes over medium. I'm going to go down here and start with the big heavy rock ball. Now, by the way, even though this ball, the composition of it is a different type of plastic with a marble in the middle, it still weighs 5.9 ounces. It's still the same weight as any other traditional cue ball, 5.9 ounces. You want to call it 6, go right ahead, but it's 5.9 ounces, and you're really going to have, I have no problem jumping this ball like any other cue ball, okay? So once again, I'm going to set up, take aim, eyes up, begin pre-stroke, eyes up, back to the ball, eyes up, and take the shot. Coming back, take aim, pre-stroke, eyes up, back to the ball, eyes up. Now you notice I keep pumping and moving. If I stop, I'm going to have to change the grip on my fingers on this cue. And I don't want to have to do that, because if I stop with that light grip, I'm just going to slip right off. But as long as that grip is so light that that's how that cue can move, well, with that, if I get that cue moving with just that much grip, but watch what happens if I let it go. See, it's going to slide right through because I never changed the pressure on that grip. That's the #1 reason pool players fail their jump shots. Okay, let's take this one more, this speckled ball. Okay, check aim, eyes up, down, up. The next thing we're going to do is take the balls all the way back, another full half a diamond. And in this case here, I like to call these stripes over long. Okay, what I'm going to do to hit stripes over long here is I'm going to use this striped ball horizontally set. I'm going to use draw on this shot so that when it lands, it'll just drive forward. If you hit it in the flat, normal contact spot, you're going to get a lot of bounce when you're coming this far, more than 2 full diamonds, just to clear the object ball. And it's highly unlikely you won't keep that on the table. And most pool players don't know this, so they get up to a jump shot, they hit it, and boom, and the ball bounces over the table. And that's because you really needed to hit draw. And when I showed you at the circle where the number is on the ball, I'm going to move the tip down to just that where the white and the color touch, and watch how the reverse spin causes the ball to just land and drive. So down, down, that's going to be the movement to apply the draw. So first, check your aim, come down to the shot, then bring it down to draw. Begin your pre-stroke. Eyes up, eyes are down, eyes up. Beautiful. And you see, I landed right there, but then that ball just drove straight in, and that is really key. Now you can work on all of these doing the same shots, and this is going to give you short, medium, and long range for probably the best of 80 or 90% of all the shots that you're going to hit. I strongly advise you're definitely going to want to have good chalk, pack it on really thick when you're going to apply any massé, or if you're going to apply any draw or follow, of course. But to just hit a standard flat jump, you really don't need to do that. Now, one of the questions I do get is, how do you know how high up you're supposed to hold the cue? So let's just look at this illustration here. And I need to jump over this black ball. And you can see here that I've got a good 2-ball distance, okay? So look at how much room I have to clear that by at least a half a ball. Well, then the elevation of the cue does not need to be more than that. And as that ball gets any closer, that elevation has to come up. That's going to dictate the elevation. So the angle you want to come out of the ball is the angle you're going to have to use to drive into the ball. And a couple of different ways that I want you to learn to practice this. Number one, if you're back here and you needed to hit this ball, then you're going to have a higher arc down. And if you're a little closer and this ball's out here, you're still going to have that higher arc. And you might drop well ahead and then hit it. On the other hand, if you're here and the cue ball's back here, and let's say that you had to hit the ball there, and of course other thing is blocking you, so you can't get a 1-rail or a 2-rail kick in there, even 3. And you need to hit that. Well, in order to be able to, you can't use this. You can say, well, gosh, you're so far. You can't use this elevation because you're going to go straight over them. You have to be able to come down in this position here, and you have to be able to high arc and come down. You have to be able, so even from this distance here, I'm going to use the higher elevation. Now, this is one of the things I'm going to teach you about how you hold the cue. So as I taught you this, and then if those of you who like the back arm, and of course if you really want a back arm with the elevate, the most effective way is put the 18-inch piece on if you'd like. And now for you taller people, this is going to give you just absolute perfect 48 inches, 8.5 ounces. But for those of you who want the lighter weight, you need the lighter weight, you still with this, you can do this. The only problem is you're going to have a difficult time. You're going to have to then bury your head into the cue ball in order to be able to make that jump. Now, I like to use 2 fingers and wrap, and then put my forearm right here into my more slender gut these days. And then I just take the top and I just kind of move it with almost the same movement I would be using when I'm using the bridge on the table. And I'm this way, I'm basically doing the same thing up and down. And I never accelerate. I basically, I just back and forth. If I stop, it could just keep going straight out of my hands because there was just enough weight in this 5 ounces to pull it out of my fingers that never tighten. Remember? Let's see if I can go ahead and give you an idea of how to hit this ball from back here. And I'm going to come up and use this stroke. Now, when you stand back and practice, 3, 2, 1, release. 3, 2, 1, release. Don't try to help it. Don't help your jump cue. Whichever jump cue you have. Don't try to help it because you're going to trap the cue ball. Let me just see if I can get this thing up in the air once. 3, 2, 1, release. And there it was. Not bad. And you can see how incredibly high that is and how accurate it is, because you have to be up to get that arc and elevation into there, okay? For those of you who get out on the table like this and now you have to jump, a couple of possible ideas you can have. If you can't really get over the ball like you need to, you might even consider getting yourself, don't mind my knees, sit up here, sit into the ball like this. And then the other thing that I could recommend you do is, if you have a really good bridge head, like I have my Just the Pro bridge head from Mr. Larry Keller. I love using this also when I'm in jumping situations. I could do one of two different things here. Number one, first of all, I'm always going to take it off the full-size stick. I don't need it on there. And I can just take it, pop it onto one of my extra playing shafts or my breaking shaft, and then just pull it out to the table like this. And I might decide to just use this to get a little bit of a better handle and a little bit more stability in the bridge, because maybe if you're out here, you're moving, you can't really, just any little bit of rocking and you're in trouble. Now, if you say, well, I need it a little higher, well, so what? Pick it up. Just hold it in your hand like that. Now, make sure you're comfortable. Begin your pre-stroke. Don't accelerate. And there it is. And you've got the shot. So you can use the bridge head to get you an extension. And you're just going to get, again, it's just a simple flick of the wrist. That's all it is a flick of the wrist. When you have to get into tough shots like this, and you've got to get to that ball, and here you are, and you need a longer length jump, or you need a back arm jump, this is going to work very, very smoothly, just like this for you, okay? And that was with the 18-inch extension on it. So the most important thing you ever have to really develop when you're jumping, in addition to getting over the ball, is you need good aiming techniques. And as I started showing you stripes over short, medium, long, and you really need to be able to know when you're double checking your aim is critical. So if you take, you take a stack of balls, put them here, and just start jumping over this cue ball from here. Then when you get a whole rack of balls, or however many the pocket holds, then move down one diamond and move down another full diamond. And again, from these positions here, here's what I'm doing. Every shot, shoot it like it's the only single shot you need to be shooting. So check your aim. Eyes are up. Begin your pre-stroke. Down. Eyes up. Take the aim. And then continue to move it down another full diamond to here until eventually you're shooting out of the corner pocket. Now come up here to the string line. This is a good place to start. You're going to have an entire rack of balls, okay? And you're going to take aim. Come up, begin your pre-stroke. Eyes are up, eyes are down. Now, you see how I'm elevated here? This is exactly the same elevation as if that ball were froze in front of that. There it is. There's the elevation. It's the same elevation in the back. The only difference now is from here, instead of being at the top of the ball, I'm just going to hit one more time, right down in the center of the ball. Which is, if you take the stripe horizontal, I'm going to take it right to the paint line, right there. Eyes up, down, up, and shoot. And just continue working this long-range shot. Eyes up, down, up, shot. Now, continue after you finish a rack of balls from there, then take another one back to this. Okay, finally we're going to work on the full length of the table. Once again, full rack of balls, bring it from down here to this end. Whether you want to be on the table or on the rail, that's beside the point. You just get used to it eventually, because now that you went backwards more and more and more, you want to determine if you want the trajectory low or do you need it to be high. If it's going to be high, you especially want to be sure that you're putting the bottom on the ball. Otherwise, you could just use a full length cue like this, and here I am, eyes are up, down, up, and that's it. So your cue has to be capable of making these types of shots. And then you, the player, through practice, what I'm teaching you, you're going to build up to that. By the way, I did tell you massé, remember? Turn the strike up, and then you have to be capable of jumping from 1 diamond, 2 diamonds, 3 diamonds, and then 4 diamonds. So you're going to take this and set these up here and write this down, because you're going to need to know this. I'm going to use the 40-inch cue to make this happen, because I prefer it's a short jump. So pay attention to my elevation. Here's my 30 degrees. Here's my 45 degrees. Here is my 60 degrees. And then here's my, at 75 degrees, I'm definitely going to come up and use the short elevation bridge as opposed to the hand bridge. Okay, so once I get to 75 degrees, actually 60 degrees, it depends on the distance I'm jumping, I may either use the amping hand or that. Your bridge hand, make sure your palm is flat so your thumb comes up, so you get a good solid V in there and you don't have any sloppy movement, okay? That's really important. By the way, this will do amazing double jumps as well. Let's say this ball were out here, and this ball we're blocking. There were some other blockers, so I can't really kick. Keep in mind, if you want to do a double jump, the important thing is to make sure that your landing point is approximately no more than a half a diamond behind that ball in order to be able to get over the top of it. And that should pretty much make that work for you just like that. It has nothing to do with how proficient or skill level pool player you are. Jumping is a totally separate shot in the game. It's a skill unto its own. Again, it's a loose wrist. That's what's going on there. You're never pinching. You're keeping it that way. You're always aiming specifically at the color between where the number on the ball is and above it. Or if you're playing with the type of balls that don't have that separation view, just wherever the white circle that the number's in, just just not even 1/8 of an inch above that cut line for the paint color. That's your primary target for aiming. Anyway, I'm Dominic Esposito, your drill instructor. I hope this gave you a lot of good tips and drill ideas. And if you need any additional assistance, I can tell you right now, go to DITV. On DITV, I have, during the boot camp DVDs, programs, I have lots of different information and other helpful types of drills on regular cue jumping, your break cue jumping, of course, your jump cue jumping, because it is a shot in the game and you really do need to learn how to do it. Okay, everybody, I love you. God bless you, and I'll see you again.